Here are some other great videos from Cabin Fever Entertainment.
Get ready to sign up for a crash course in racing. Take a look at some of the most dramatic crashes in stock car history and share an in-depth discussion by 3 drivers who know them all too well. Harry Gant, Bill Parsons, and Benny Parsons.
You know, we're looking at crashes that happen at 200 miles an hour. 200 miles an hour, folks. That is no exaggeration.
Learn how fans can see a wreck developing before the drivers do. Find out why hand signals at 200 miles per hour save lives. And discover how television cameras can help you pick a winner.
The tires never hook up the first corner, maybe the first 2 corners. So Harry looked to me like Harry was just being cautious.
Featuring special guest, racing legend A.J. Foyt. A crash course in racing is the education you need to make you a more informed racing fan. Available now on home video from Cabin Fever Entertainment.
To order these videos or our catalog of other Cabin Fever Entertainment titles, call 1-800-55-FEVER.
Shortly before Alan Kulwicki's tragic death on April 1st, 1993, NASCAR Video Magazine completed this chronicle of Alan's life. It's a story of a champion, a dreamer, and a man the sport of racing will miss and never forget. We dedicate this video to his memory. It was from these hard-packed sands of Daytona Beach that the sport of NASCAR was born and great champions emerged. Now taking his place among them is a new champion, embodying the independent spirit of NASCAR pioneers who not only drove their cars, but built them too. Though linked to the past, he is also the most contemporary of champions, representing a new generation of our sport. Hello, everybody. I'm Benny Parsons, and of course, I'm talking about 1992 Winston Cup champion Alan Kulwicki. For Alan, winning the championship was a culmination of a dream, one that is an inspiration to us all. Recently, he was kind enough to let us into his home to talk about what he went through to make his dream into a reality. First question I got, was it worth it?
Well, I tell you, that's the dream of a lifetime. That's what I've been working for years. So, yes, I mean, I wouldn't trade the championship or give it up for anything, but there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it, a lot of pressures that go along with it, and it's not always fun. It's not always fun things to do, but it certainly means a lot. It's a real prestigious thing to accomplish in your career, and I don't think I'd, you know, if I had to do it over again, I'd still take it.
Would it help if you were just the driver? You are the driver and owner, and you have the responsibility of getting the race car to go to the racetrack. Would it help if you were just the driver?
Well, in a way it would. I like doing all the things that go along with this, the interviews, the appearances. I like all of it, but sometimes when you put it all together, it's a little bit much to handle. I think that what it takes to be the champion now is probably a lot more than what it took 5 or 10 years ago. And the more the sport grows, the more exposure it gets, the more requests there are to do media things, and that's not.
All right, a little recap. First of all, you don't have a southern accent, so you're from Wisconsin, right?
From the Midwest. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally. Greenfield is the last place I lived.
And you started racing, how old were you when you started?
Well, I started racing go-karts when I was like 13 or 14. Started racing stock cars when I was 18, and I did that as a hobby just all through college. Got my degree in mechanical engineering, worked a couple years as an engineer, and then went racing full-time.
A degree in mechanical engineering, has that helped in racing?
I think it has. I think, you know, in the short run, it probably slowed me down just a little bit. I may have gotten a little farther, a little quicker had I been racing full time, but I think in the long run, it's made me better suited to running my own team and taking a little bit of the guesswork out of things, you know, lets you understand the cars a little bit better.
I heard that your father was also in racing. Was he a driver?
No, my dad built race car engines. He's quite an accomplished engine builder, and you know, I look up to him for his accomplishments in racing. But, you know, as far as my career, I sort of had to go and do my own thing.
So he was not someone that put you in his race car, or you had to go out and get your own race cars?
Right. He was not the type of father that was pushing me to do this or pushing me to follow in his footsteps. Actually didn't really want me to get into racing initially, and I sort of had to go out and do it on my own and prove that I was serious about it. And it's not like he had a race car or he built the engines for me or anything like that. I could always ask him questions, and he'd always answer them that way. But as far as pushing me to go racing or do these things for me, he didn't.
And it was just you and your dad, right?
My mom died when I was in second grade, and my brother, my dad, and I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother and my aunts helped raise us, and my grandmother died when I was in seventh grade. My brother died when I was in eighth grade, so I really don't have a whole lot of family, and my dad was gone racing a lot, so I had to learn how to do things for myself.
Man, that had to be tough.
Well, it was tough, and you know, you would never choose your childhood to be that way. I mean, I wish a lot of those things never would have happened or happened that way, but you know, in a way it had an effect on me, and you know, maybe in some ways a positive effect. Like I said, you wouldn't choose it to happen that way, but you've got to learn and grow from those experiences, and it's hard to do when you're a kid, when you're that young, but
You're one of the most determined people I've ever seen. Do you think that's part of the reason that you're so determined?
I think that had some sort of effect like that on me. I can't tell you exactly how or why it happened that way, but you know, like I said, I had to learn how to do things for myself and how to not give up and not quit. And maybe some of it came from that set of circumstances. And you know, if it's helped me in any way, I guess that would have to be it.
Did you always dream of making a living with a race car?
Well, from the time that I was probably 18 on, 16 on maybe, I always wanted to be a professional race car driver.
And by age, what, 25, you were doing that as a living. And in 1985, the winter of 1985, you got this wild hair, I'm going to go racing down south.
It didn't happen that quickly. I mean, I had been thinking about it, dreaming about it for years, and I had been trying to plan this move. Like, I'm not from the South, I don't know a lot of people down there, I don't have a lot of money, but this is really what I want to do, so how am I going to get my foot in the door? And, you know, I attended a few races trying to meet people and studied other drivers before me, like Rusty Wallace or Mark Martin, guys that had made an attempt to run NASCAR, and tried to learn from what they did right or wrong. And I said, you know, well, now's the time. You know, I'm going to give it a shot. And when it came time to go, it couldn't have happened any worse. I mean, as far as learning from their experiences and having a master plan, there weren't any. When I decided to make the move, there were a couple of potential rides, a couple of potential sponsors, and I said, all right, I'm going to go for it now. And there were several months for these things to develop, and when it came time to actually move, none of them had developed, none of them had really come through, and so it was really a big gamble to move down south. I was really, to be honest with you, I was really scared. I was swimming for my life when I went down there.
It worked.
I
But
guess.
how in the world did it work? If you had to, I mean, you made it, it worked, but thinking back on it, I mean, there's just no way that it was going to work.
Well, the odds of making it were definitely slim, because like I said, I didn't have a lot of money, I didn't have a ride or a sponsor, and I wouldn't say that it was luck, but timing and things like that played a big role in it. Working hard and being efficient and making the most of any little opportunity that came along and trying to make it into a bigger one. I just took a one-race sponsorship and managed to get a 20-race deal out of Quincy Steakhouses at the time, went on to win the Rookie of the Year title. Got Xerox Antifreeze to sponsor me for the next 4 years. Finally won a race and just worked my way up till eventually we signed on with Hooters Restaurants and went on to win the Winston Cup championship.
When you moved down, when you loaded all your stuff up in the back of that pickup or your trailer, and you moved south from Milwaukee, were you trying to get recognized to the point you could drive for someone else, or did you have the dream of getting your team to compete?
I definitely didn't intend to run my own team. I mean, I didn't have enough money to run a team. I mean, I could have gone broke in a matter of 2 or 3 races. I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I just wanted to be a NASCAR Winston Cup race car driver, drive for a team, work my way up, get a ride with a better team, win some races. I just wanted to be a race car driver. But like I said, when these opportunities didn't develop, I sort of had to try to make something happen. I went out on my own and started running my own team and just took it from there, but that never was the plan initially.
Then after, what year, 1990, Xerox left as a sponsor?
Things changed in the marketplace. Their advertising agency changed, and they ended up getting out of racing. And the timing was really bad for me because it was rather late in the year, and all the new sponsors that had come along that year had already signed on with other teams. The economy wasn't great. There was the threat of war and eventually war. And, you know, that really put a damper on a lot of sports marketing activities. And I had to start the '91 season with no sponsor and risked everything that I had saved up the previous years to keep the team going.
Well, why didn't you go out and look for a ride and just disband the team?
At that point, I had made a commitment to stick with my own team. I had...
To who?
To myself, I guess. I don't know. I hate to fail, and at that point, I had turned down a good ride, and I couldn't give up. But, you know, if I did, it would have been like admitting failure, and I was, you know, I still believed. I still believed that the team would function well. I still believed I would get a sponsor, and, you know, I stuck with it. The guys in the crew stuck with it. We stuck together and started the year with no sponsor and made it happen.
But when you went for 3 or 4 months, Alan, when you went to bed at night, you had to go to sleep thinking, am I doing the right thing?
Never went to sleep. I stayed up all night worrying about it. No. Oh, I mean, that thought crosses your mind once in a while, but I really, down deep, I think I was determined to give this the best shot and see it through as far as I could. And then if it didn't work out and I would have lost whatever I had saved or earned previous to that, trying to keep the team going, then I would have closed the door on it and I would have said, well, I did the best I could. It didn't work out. Now I'll go drive for someone else.
Well, when we left, Alan was talking about his sleepless nights over not having a sponsor during the 1991 season. Things changed after Alan sat on the pole for the spring race in Atlanta. A restaurant chain decided they liked Alan's spirit of independence and signed on for the race. Good news, but his troubles weren't over. Okay, now you've got a small team, and all of a sudden you put a deal together with Hooters. And at that time, Hooters was basically a small restaurant chain. Did you think they could afford that?
No, I mean, I thought it started out as a 1-race deal, turned into a 3-race deal, you know, and they said, well, we're either going to get in or get out. And they stayed for the rest of the season. We went on to sign a multi-year agreement with them, and it's turned into a bigger, better deal than I ever thought it could have. I mean, they are a small restaurant chain, but they've over-doubled in size in a year and a half, and they're the fastest-growing restaurant chain in America right now, and it's turned into a much bigger, better deal than I ever thought it could have.
Alan and I are a lot alike. He's a very intense man, and I am too, from time to time, they tell me. We like to be winners, and he needed X amount of money to race, and the only way we could put it together was to use a couple of other companies, the Natural Fresh brands and the Classic Mixers, and that was the first year, and so it's paid off for both of us, you know. I love it when a good plan comes together myself, and I felt like it was putting the whole focus together. You know, racing has more to do than just the number of people that see see your name out there. It has to do with the employees, and they need a winner, they need a hero, and that was as much in my mind in doing NASCAR as anything else was.
Was Alan Kulwicki part of the reason that they grew so fast?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't take credit for that, but I mean, I hope I've done my part to get them a lot more visibility and recognition, and you know, the race fans certainly seem to enjoy frequenting those places, so I think we've done our part to help them out.
Now, a race car driver faces many unexpected dangers and challenges, and that's proven particularly true for Alan with Hooters as his sponsor. Sometimes it's a tough job, but Alan has proved tough enough to handle it.
Good deal, let's go. That's sliding. Winston Cup.
The realization of Alan Kulwicki's dream of winning a championship in 1992 started in the most unlikeliest of places, the back of the pack at the Daytona 500 by STP. Alan talked with us about how he turned adversity into triumph that day, which he did throughout his 1992 campaign.
The year didn't, I would have to say, it didn't start out on a great note. I mean, we wrecked what we thought was our best car in the 125 qualifying race. Didn't have a particularly good qualifying time, and actually had to take a provisional spot to start the Daytona 500 because of that wreck. We came back and finished fourth, a great comeback, and you know, we've had to come back one or two other times during the season.
Then you went to Rockingham, didn't have a very good day down there.
No, had a photo finish at Richmond, Virginia with Bill Elliott, and
Almost won that one.
missed winning that race by like 18 inches. Went on to Bristol and won the pole and the race. And, you know, from that point on, we were always up there in the point standings, always in the top 3 or 4 or 5.
And you did run consistently, and you won the first Pocono race. The Champions Park Plug 500, you won that race at Pocono.
That's right, and that was a pretty satisfying win because that was the biggest track that I had won on, and that track was the first time that I almost won a race. I was leading there with a half a lap to go back in 1987, and that's the first time that I came close to winning the race, and it took several years and a lot of misfortunes at Pocono to come back and finally win one there.
Then you get to Michigan in August, and you qualified on the pole, qualified pole position, and ran pretty well, and all of a sudden just the car just went away, and you ran out of gas, and I don't know what else happened that day, but ended up finishing about 14th or 15th.
Right. The second Michigan race, we did run out of gas, and I think finished 14th. And, you know, that was one of those races when you look back at the end of the year and say, well, what could we have done different? I mean, we lost some points that day. You know, that maybe next time around we'll be a little bit smarter. But towards the end of the season, we started to pick things back up. We had some more misfortune at Dover, Delaware. Had a terrible weekend there.
Let's get to Dover. Let's go back to Dover in June.
Let's not go back to Dover.
Let's go back to Dover in June. How many cars did you wreck up there?
Well, I think we bent one front stub all year long, other than Dover, and we bent 8 clips front and rear clips in 2 races at that track. And
8?
8. The front and the back, both clips on 4 cars. One of them was total. 2 in the first race, 2 in the second race.
Man. And it was not a multi-car crash or what have you. Driver error?
Combination of things. I'll take the blame for some of it. The first time they had sealer on the track and the car bottomed out, and when it did, I slid up out of the groove. I got in trouble. The second one was probably driver error. Came back and ran a 3rd car in that race and got just a decent, average, medium 12th place finish out of it, but we brought the car home in one piece. Went back there in the fall and said, well, I'm going to do better this time around. I'm not going to let the place get the best of me. Went out in practice, and the throttle stuck on the car and wrecked the 3rd car there in practice. Rolled the backup car off the trailer, and with real limited practice time, sat on the pole at that race, and throttle stuck. I mean, at that point, it started to rattle me just a little bit. Confidence, and that did. Even though we won the pole that day, was not a very good day for me at the racetrack. Came and totaled that car out, and that was about as hard as I've hit in a long time. And realistically, I thought that probably finished off our championship hopes. I remember getting out of the car after the race saying, well, and that's it. It doesn't look like we're going to win the championship this year. And I didn't really give up. I mean, I think maybe that was a little bit misinterpreted. I didn't say I quit or we're down and anything like that. I just didn't think we could make up that many points that late in the season.
Exactly. You're 278 points behind now. That's more points than you've been behind all year. And you've only got a handful of races left. So you had to say, hey, let's get ready for next year.
Well, not get ready for next year. We had to finish the year off on a good note. It's all right. Even if we don't win the championship and we come back, get 2nd, 3rd, 4th out of it, we can still have a real good season here. If we roll over and play dead, we might end up 10th, 12th, 14th, you know, and then they'll say, well, they never should have been up there in the first place. And really, the guys in the crew bounced back from all that adversity that we had at Dover really well. They didn't quit. They didn't give up. Said, hey, don't worry about it. You're all right. And we'll fix these cars. We'll build a new car.
Atlanta, the final race. Got to be the most exciting race I've ever seen in my life. Did it feel that exciting from where you were sitting in the race car?
Late in the race, it did. I mean, it started off as, you know, we're just going to go run our own race. You know, just try to be smart. Don't let anyone else's performance affect what you're going to do. Just go out and run the best that you can. And we ran really well that day. After watching the tape of that race, I think up until the final pit stop or the final laps of that race, Bill and I ran almost 500 miles, probably never more than 3 seconds apart all day long. And as the race went on, we got better and better, and then led for a long stretch. And I tell you, the guys in the crew did a great job figuring out that, you know, if I held on to lap 310, if I led to that point, I would have led the most laps in the race, and we would have gotten the bonus points for doing that. And we knew at that point that we had the championship won. Even if we didn't win the race, we would win the championship.
It was so close. I mean, anything could have happened. I mean, if we'd have broken on the white flag lap and wouldn't cross the start-finish line, you know, then it would have been a tie. And I don't know exactly what would have happened then, but I don't think we would have won. I think we would have tied then. So it was just so close. I wasn't going to be sure until that checkered flag dropped.
What did you think you saw at checkered flag?
Well, with a...
Is there any way that you could tell us how you felt?
There's just, you get like chills up and down your spine. Sort of like the first win at Phoenix, when it's like, is this really happening? I mean, this is it right here. This is it right now. And I was really excited. It was a dream of a lifetime, and just really have to thank, you know, everyone that's helped me get to this point.
USA Today called your lap, your victory lap, your Polish victory lap, you call it, the top picture of the weekend. You did that at your first victory in Phoenix, and when you won the championship, you made another lap backwards. Why?
Well, I wanted to do something that the fans would remember. And I mean, you gotta try to put some interest in this. I mean, it's sports, it's entertainment. And by turning the car around and going backwards, putting the driver's side of the car up right next to the grandstands, you know, the fans really seem to relate to that. It really got them charged up. When I turned the car around, I mean, all the fans just sort of came down from the stands right to the fence, and you could see them cheering. You know, it was just a really neat moment.
I tell you what, Alan has a very neat home here. How about showing me around?
Sure.
How many bedrooms do you have?
Oh, there's 3 bedrooms in here. You could probably convert a couple more, but 3 bedrooms right now. And I like this floor plan because it had a nice big open foyer, and I wanted it to be real open, have a lot of light-colored wood in it and light-colored wallpaper.
Okay, now what's this side?
Well, up here, over to the left, there's a reading room here, a loft room. Got a couple of guest bedrooms here.
This is really neat.
This is the master bedroom. This is my room where I stay. I just like light colors, light wood again here, but yet a few brighter colors in the draperies and the bedspread.
Wow, this is nice.
This is the master bathroom here.
I remember stuff like that when I was 18 years old. I had to
when
put
you
stuff
used
in
to
my
have
hair.
hair, right?
Yeah.
When you had hair.
Wow, look at all these plants.
Jacuzzi with the sort of a tropical look around it.
Do you use this much?
After the races, especially after the races.
After the races, huh? Alan, why is there 2 shower heads in there, buddy?
The future, you got to be thinking about the future, Benny.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about some food? Now, I've walked up a whole flight of stairs and you haven't offered me one thing to eat. Do you have anything to eat in this house?
All right, let's go eat.
What do you got to eat?
I'll feed you, come on.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna watch. I'm not a cook. I'm not a manufacturer. I'm a consumer.
A consumer, right.
Yeah. You know, we all know that you were probably the hungriest, looking at all this food, you were the hungriest driver on the circuit last year. You wanted it so bad. Now you want it, you wish for it, your wishes come true. Has it made you more hungry for another title or less hungry?
Well, I mean, it sort of whets your appetite to come back. I mean, you enjoy all the things that go along with being the champion. But, you know, in the long run, you've got to work to not get complacent, not get soft and think, you know, you're going to come back next year and this happen again.
You've got a championship now. You're the Winston Cup champion. How important is the Daytona 500 crown to go along with that?
Well, that's probably my biggest unfulfilled goal at this point. It's probably been our weakest point in the past, too, is the restrictor plate races. So we've worked real hard to try to improve in that area. And, you know, that's one race. I mean, I think a guy would feel like his career wasn't complete if he didn't win that race.
Now, you know, the video that they played at Waldorf when you were crowned champion was Frank Sinatra's My Way. And everyone has said that you did it your way. You know, you returned down the rides when they were offered to you to go on your own. Is that how Alan Kulwicki is going to be looked when it's all over and said and done with? Is that the one thing we're going to remember about Alan Kulwicki?
Maybe. I mean, time will tell, but I'll never be the guy that wins the most championships or the most races. I mean, those goals realistically are out of reach, but...
Why? I mean, Richard only won 7.
I won't make it that long.
You won't? When you going to quit?
Not with the level of competition that exists in Winston Cup racing today. It'd be unrealistic to think that you could win 7 championships.
When you going to quit? You have any timetable?
Well, I don't have anything set in my mind at this point. I mean, a lot depends on what the sport's like 10 years from now, what happens in my career between now and then, and realistically, probably another 10 years. You know, I don't think I'll be doing this when I'm 54 or 55 years old, but maybe for another 8 or 10 years.
I was kind of worried about that food there, Alan. It's looking better all the time.
It'll be done shortly.
Not bad. Eat up, buddy. You got another championship to win. And folks, you just might do it. You know, for most drivers, winning the championship is sort of like reaching the end of a good book. I know it felt like that for me when I won in 1973. but I came away from the time I spent with Alan with a different feeling. The Winston Cup champion is not an ending, but a beginning. It's a whole new chapter, maybe a whole new book with more for him to prove, more for him to overcome, and forever as the underdog, more dreams for him to fulfill. He's a determined, driven, and intelligent young man. He's a throwback to the days when a driver spent his time behind the wheel, under the hood, and running his own team. But Alan Kulwicki is also a uniquely 90s champion, and his ultimate legacy, the final chapter, is still unfolding.
Transportation provided by Winnebago Industries, manufacturer Winnebago and Itasca Motorhomes. For more information on the Winnebago Motorsports team, call 1-800-643-4892.